that's the recap of Tuesday's action. Wednesday's action, just as interesting. Real Madrid against Chelsea, what we'll focus on now. There you see what the odds makers think of this one. Ale, Real Madrid lost this weekend, but there was a lot of rotation in the squad. How do you see them coming into this?
Knowing full well that Champions League is a different story for them, and not just because we say it, not just because it's a cute story or a rhetoric that we're used to, it's because Real Madrid, with results, have proven that that's indeed the fact. When it comes to Champions League, there's a different version of this team. We have seen it over the course of the season. We have seen it in years past. We have just seen it in the history of the club. And Real Madrid, I think, understands that their measure of success this season comes down to winning Champions League. That's it. Copa del Rey will be something that they'll focus on, but really all chips are in with Champions League. And that's not going to change. I think, obviously, when you compare the two teams, if you thought that Real Madrid were struggling coming into this game following their loss against Villarreal, well, when it comes to the scale of struggling, Chelsea are winning in a runaway fashion. So I think Real Madrid are very confident coming into this matchup. I think they know they're better than Chelsea, and Chelsea know that they have issues. So you have a confident team that understands what this competition is all about, and Chelsea, who's having difficulties understanding what team is going to play on the field.
What kind of game plan gives Chelsea any type of chance tomorrow? Is there one?
One where Real Madrid have a particularly off day, but they need 2 off days, don't forget. One positive is that Thiago Silva may be fit and available, but how match sharp is he? Look, there's a ready-made excuse for this Chelsea team. They're sitting in the bottom half of the Premier League. They have an ownership that, at best, has a scattergun approach. They've already fired 2 managers, so the culpability has already been shoved to the manager's feet and door. They now have an interim manager who, quite frankly, is only back in there because Todd Burley thinks it will put a bit of a smile on the fans' face for a few weeks until they can figure out what they're doing, because it seems they don't really know what they're doing. So when when nobody expects you to do anything and you go to Real Madrid with all these great players and they've been rested from the Villarreal game, most of them, 6 of them, and you're against a team who, if they get beat by 3 or 4, they'll get on the plane and blame somebody else. They'll blame the ownership, they'll blame the interim manager, they'll blame Graham Potter. And so I don't see an avenue for Chelsea to get a win. They can't score goals. They can't beat anybody in the Premier League of note recently. And they beat Dortmund, which was a huge slap in the face to Dortmund. Bearing in mind that at that point, Chelsea couldn't really beat many other teams. So I don't. Put it one way. Ancelotti might as well just get his bags, move out his house, and go and take the Brazil job if they don't go through against Chelsea. He might as well do it straight off the bat of that defeat. That's how bad it would be considering where Chelsea are. So no, I'm not expecting anything else than a comfortable win for Real Madrid in both games.
Nedum, is there any hope here for Frank Lampard and company?
You wouldn't necessarily think so. I think this is one of the few ties of the knockout rounds where people are almost assuming that one side's going to go through, and I think that's fair given Real Madrid's pedigree in the competition and Chelsea's lacklustre season as such. It seems to make perfect sense that's what it's going to be. I think in terms of their game plan, though, if they can somehow get a result, because most people expect them to lose, and that's understandable playing in the Bernabeu, but if they can have a result whereby they give their fans a reason to actually go to the second leg next week, whether it's only 1, perhaps 2, then maybe they arrive there with a little sense of hope. And as we mentioned earlier, what happens if Bayern score early? Well, what happens if Chelsea score early? But I think that's going to be a tall order given how much they've struggled this year. And the one place where you don't want to be playing in European football is away at the Bernabeu. So I think it's going to be a very, very tough day for them. But you never know. It's football. This is why we tune in. And I'm not optimistic for them to win it, but I think they can make something which might even give just that little bit of hope, perhaps, for the second leg.
Did Nedum just say what happens if Chelsea scores early?
In the second leg, if they don't get beaten too badly in the first and they score early in the second, then it's more entertaining.
What happens if Chelsea scores, period?
Jan, what kind of chances do you give Chelsea, just to that point, to not get beaten badly? I mean, is that what we're talking about here? Like, what's an acceptable result for Chelsea then?
Well, first of all, I think that internationally you don't often see teams beaten badly. So I'm not sure about that will happen. I think that Chelsea will find a game plan, as Nedum was saying. They have everything against them. Everybody expects them, and sometimes you can play them free. You can flee. You go to Santiago Bernabeu. You can enjoy the moment as long as you can. What did Thomas Hessler say? We came here to play 0-0, and it was okay until they scored. I think that is the attitude they're gonna have. They're gonna have when they go there. But I mean, boys, we've seen Manchester City today building up that culture that you need to win Champions League, and that is what's impressed me with Real Madrid. No, again, they're losing now, of course, but coming into this game, Ancelotti knows exactly what he's doing. He knows exactly what the player can do, and he got a culture there. And we have to be honest, Chelsea, with all the players they call big signings, are an inexperienced player that need to develop, and it's chaos. So I guess in that lies also the hope for Chelsea, that they have nothing to lose.
Can I just tell you, in terms of what the expectations and the standards are for Real Madrid and the importance or lack thereof in the matchup against Villarreal this weekend, 60th minute, they're leading 2-1, but the game's still there. Ancelotti says, Karim, Benzema, yep, you got to come off. Benzema wasn't happy to come off the field. But no, we need you to be ready for midweek. This game today, not nearly as important. That was the approach this past weekend, and that, I think, is what we have to take into consideration when we say, well, Real Madrid is struggling. Yeah, maybe. Or do they care about La Liga? I don't think they do at this point. Champions League is what they care about.
If Chelsea make this somewhat competitive over 2 legs, somewhat, that's a result from where they are. Right, but, I mean, come on. Yeah. You're not sitting in the bottom half of the Premier League for no reason. You're sitting down there because you're all over the place as a team. You've got people up front that fall over themselves when they get near the penalty box. And, it's a bit of a shambles behind the scenes. And you know, Real Madrid, as we know, absolutely lapped this competition up. So, yeah, it doesn't bode well for Chelsea. But, you know, you've got to go there and play the game, see what happens.
Well, thank you very much for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming, premium content, and let's not forget as well, ESPN FC 7 days a week. Subscribe to ESPN Plus.